Installing an exterior breaker panel requires careful planning and execution to ensure safety and compliance with the National Electrical Code, (NEC). Let's discuss real-world experiences and best practices. Firstly, regarding location and mounting, the panel should be mounted on an exterior wall at least 6 feet above grade to comply with NEC regulations. Secure it to a weatherproof backboard or enclosure for additional protection. Position the panel in a sheltered area, away from direct sunlight and moisture. Now let's consider branch circuit entry. Branch circuits enter the panel through either conduit or raceway. For conduit entry, branch circuits enter the panel through liquid-tight conduit that penetrates the enclosure. The conduit is then sealed with the knockout plug or conduit fitting. For raceway entry, branch circuits can also enter the panel through a raceway, such as surface-mounted electrical metallic tubing or ENT or polyvinyl chloride or PVC conduit. The raceway is secured to the enclosure and sealed appropriately. Let's review the installation process step by step. 1. Prepare the wall. Remove any existing siding or other obstacles to ensure a flat mounting surface. 2. Mount the backboard or enclosure. Secure the backboard or enclosure to the wall using appropriate anchors and bolts. 3. Install the breaker panel. Position the breaker panel on the backboard or enclosure and secure it with screws or bolts. 4. Run branch circuits. Run the branch circuits to the panel using conduit or raceway. 5. Seal entry points. Seal all entry points for conduit or raceway using knockout plugs or conduit fittings to prevent moisture intrusion. 6. Interconnect and ground. Connect the branch circuits to the appropriate circuit breakers in the panel. Ground the panel to the grounding electrode system in accordance with NEC requirements. 7. Install cover. Install the cover plate or enclosure lid on the panel to protect it from the element. Remember these additional considerations for a successful installation. Ensure the panel is easily accessible for future maintenance or repairs. The panel and enclosure should be weatherproof and resistant to moisture, sunlight, and extreme temperatures. Provide ventilation holes or louvres in the enclosure to prevent overheating. Lastly, obtain an inspection from a qualified electrician to ensure the installation meets all applicable codes and standards. When selecting a location for an outdoor electrical panel, consider factors beyond just code compliance. Think about ease of access for future maintenance and repairs. A location that's easily reached without obstacles, like landscaping or stored items, will save time and effort down the road. Also, assess the surrounding environment. Is the location prone to flooding or excessive snow accumulation? If so, consider raising the panel higher than the minimum 6 feet requirement. Direct sunlight can also degrade the panel's components over time, so a shaded location is preferable. When mounting the backboard or enclosure, use appropriate anchors and bolts that are suitable for the wall's material. For example, if you're mounting to brick or concrete, use masonry anchors. Ensure the anchors are properly sized to support the weight of the panel and its contents. Consider using stainless steel hardware to prevent corrosion, especially in coastal or high humidity environments. When running branch circuits to the panel, use the correct size and type of conduit or raceway for the application. Electrical metallic tubing, or EMT, is a common choice for exposed locations, while PVC conduit is suitable for underground or corrosive environments. Ensure the conduit is properly supported and secured to the wall using appropriate straps or clamps. Avoid sharp bends in the conduit, as this can make it difficult to pull wires and may violate code requirements. When sealing entry points, use only listed and labeled knockout plugs or conduit fittings that are specifically designed for outdoor use. Apply a sealant or thread lubricant to the threads of the fittings to ensure a watertight seal. Over time, exposure to the elements can cause sealants to dry out and crack, so it's a good idea to periodically inspect and reseal the entry points as needed. Grounding is a critical safety measure that protects against electrical shock. The panel must be properly grounded to the grounding electrode system, which typically consists of a ground rod or connection to the metal water pipe. Use the correct size and type of grounding conductor as specified in the NEC. Ensure the grounding connections are clean and tight, and protect them from corrosion with an antioxidant compound. When connecting branch circuits to the circuit breakers, use a Torx screwdriver to tighten the connections to the manufacturer's specifications. Loose connections can cause overheating and potentially lead to a fire. Label each circuit breaker clearly with the corresponding circuit it serves. This will make it easier to identify and troubleshoot circuits in the future. The cover plate or enclosure lid is the first line of defense against the elements. Ensure the cover is properly installed and that all screws or latches are securely fastened. Inspect the cover regularly for cracks or damage and replace it as needed. Consider using a cover with a gasket to provide an extra layer of protection against moisture intrusion. Weatherproofing is an ongoing process, not just a one-time installation step. Regularly inspect the panel and enclosure for signs of damage or deterioration, such as rust, cracks, or loose connections. Address any issues promptly to prevent further damage and maintain the panel's weatherproof integrity. Consider applying a protective coating or sealant to the panel and enclosure to extend their lifespan. Ventilation is important to prevent overheating, but it's also important to prevent the entry of insects or rodents. Use screens or filters to cover ventilation holes or louvers. Clean the ventilation openings regularly to remove any debris that could block airflow. When obtaining an inspection from a qualified electrician, be prepared to provide documentation such as the panel's specifications, wiring diagrams, and any permits that were obtained. The electrician will inspect the installation to ensure it meets all applicable codes and standards, and will provide a written report of any deficiencies. Address any deficiencies promptly and schedule a follow-up inspection to ensure they have been corrected. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it's important to stay current with the latest requirements. Consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to ensure your installation complies with the latest edition of the NEC. Installing an exterior breaker panel is a complex task that requires careful attention to detail and a thorough understanding of electrical codes and safety practices. If you're not comfortable performing the work yourself, it's always best to hire a qualified electrician. When choosing an electrician, be sure to check their credentials and experience and ask for references. A qualified electrician will be able to assess your specific needs and provide a safe and reliable installation. In addition to the NEC, there may be local codes or ordinances that apply to electrical installations. Check with your local building department to determine the specific requirements in your area. Obtain all necessary permits before starting any electrical work. Failure to obtain permits can result in fines or delays. Before starting any electrical work, always disconnect the power to the circuit you'll be working on. Use a voltage tester to verify that the circuit is de-energized before touching any wires. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and gloves. Work in a well-lit area to avoid mistakes. If you're not sure how to do something, don't guess. Consult with a qualified electrician or refer to the NEC. Electrical work can be dangerous, so it's always better to be safe than sorry. When running conduit or raceway, use appropriate bending tools to avoid kinking or damaging the conduit. Use fish tape to pull wires through long runs of conduit. Avoid overloading circuits. Each circuit breaker is designed to protect a specific amount of current. Overloading a circuit can cause the breaker to trip, or worse, lead to a fire. Use a circuit tester to identify overloaded circuits. Consider adding additional circuits to distribute the load more evenly. When connecting wires, use wire connectors that are appropriate for the size and type of wire. Ensure the connections are tight and secure. Avoid using tape to insulate connections, as tape can dry out and become brittle over time. Use heat shrink tubing or insulated wire connectors instead. When working with aluminum wire, use connectors and compounds that are specifically designed for aluminum. Aluminum wire can corrode when it comes into contact with other metals, so it's important to take precautions to prevent corrosion. When replacing a circuit breaker, use a breaker that is the same size and type as the original breaker. Using a breaker that is too large can damage the wiring and potentially lead to a fire. When working with older wiring, Be aware that the insulation may be brittle or damaged. Handle older wiring with care to avoid damaging the insulation. Consider replacing older wiring with new wiring to improve safety and reliability. When drilling holes for conduit or raceway, be careful not to damage any existing wiring or plumbing. Use a stud finder to locate studs and avoid drilling into them. Be aware of the location of underground utilities before digging. Call 811 before you dig to have underground utilities marked. When working in wet or damp locations, use ground fault circuit interrupter or GFCI protection. GFCIs can detect small amounts of current leakage and quickly shut off the power to prevent electrical shock. Use GFCI outlets or breakers to protect circuits in bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas. When working on a ladder, be sure to use a ladder that is in good condition and is properly rated for the job. Set the ladder on a firm, level surface. Avoid overreaching while on a ladder. Have someone spot you while you're working on a ladder. When working with power tools, be sure to read and follow the manufacturer's instructions. Wear safety glasses and hearing protection when using power tools. Avoid using power tools in wet or damp locations. Keep power tools in good condition and have them serviced regularly. When cleaning electrical equipment, disconnect the power first. Use a dry cloth to wipe down the equipment. Avoid using water or cleaning solutions as these can damage the equipment. Inspect electrical cords regularly for damage. Replace damaged cords immediately. Avoid running electrical cords under rugs or furniture, as this can damage the cords and create a fire hazard. Use surge protectors to protect sensitive electronic equipment from power surges. Power surges can damage or destroy electronic equipment. Unplug electronic equipment during thunderstorms to protect it from lightning strikes. When disposing of electrical equipment, do so properly. Do not throw electrical equipment in the trash. Recycle electrical equipment at a designated recycling center. Be aware of the hazards of carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas that can be produced by faulty appliances. Install carbon monoxide detectors in your home to warn you of dangerous levels of carbon monoxide. Test carbon monoxide detectors regularly to ensure they are working properly. Be aware of the dangers of electrical fires. Electrical fires can be caused by faulty wiring, overloaded circuits, or damaged appliances. Install smoke detectors in your home to warn you of a fire. Test smoke detectors regularly to ensure they are working properly. Have a fire extinguisher on hand and know how to use it. Practice fire drills with your family. If you have any questions about electrical safety, consult with a qualified electrician. Electricity is a powerful force that can be dangerous if not handled properly. Taking the necessary precautions can help to prevent electrical accidents and ensure the safety of your home and family. These guidelines should help you with the installation process.